say no and still welcome the opportunity to work with the client. So this is a mistake that I see a lot of agents make, because when they see someone who's trying to take advantage or feels a little shady or they're not sure, we are responsible for coaching someone about how they're going to deal with us. And I've had this experience time after time. So how many of you guys have heard, hey, I'm not going to sign a buyer agreement with you because I also know other real estate agents? That is the most hilarious thing to me, because all the real estate agents you're still reaching out to me to work with me and have me source deals for you, which tells me the other ways you're going about accomplishing your goal aren't working.
If the only times that I call you are times when I ask you, who do you know that wants to buy or sell, would you really believe that I have your best interest at heart? Probably not. And so no matter what story I'm telling, you're not believing it. And then I always leave this one for last. This is authenticity.
Hey everybody. Saul and I are very excited to be here with you today.
No, isn't it great, Keri, that there's typically four of us, but the two couldn't be here. So now we get to just have an opportunity to chat and talk about what we see going on and what we're listening to and what we're hearing. And so great. So how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Jake, when we were getting ready to log on, brought up something interesting. So I think I'll kick it off by sharing the thought that he had. And guys, the reason that we're so committed, at least I am, and I'm sure Saul feels the same way, to investing time in being here with you guys, is that we want to serve you. We want to help you in your business. And we know it's a difficult time to keep your head focused on the right things. And so part of what we'll start off with is talking about some of the things we're hearing that are making agents spiral and how to pick yourself up out of that. So Jake said, people are all, pointing the fingers and saying the ISA's leads aren't good. My broker doesn't have good leads anymore. Everything is not what I want it to be. And so Saul, if you had people who are making those kind of comments, first of all, how would you handle that? And second of all, what do you see as the factors that are contributing to that? Because I've been having these conversations with my team actually for the last couple of weeks.
Well, I think, we all know that I'll give you an example here. The average market time in San Diego's in the last month's gone from like 14 days to double that.
30
right.
days. Oh my God. Right.
So we know that there's one way to look at that and there's another way to look at that. And you're going to see this, and it's all true. There's nothing false about it, but people have to be careful how they put that in the context of what they're doing. And so we talked about the idea of boundaries and setting boundaries and how important is that. And, there's only so much information people can consume that it adds value to what they're doing. And so you have to be careful what you consume and how you consume it, when, how much. And so when you see these sorts of things, you have to put them in context. So that's right. I see it. I get them from my board of realtors. They come to me. It's like every week I get them. And if I'm not careful, then I might give it too much value and too much weight as it reflects on my total environment where I know things are slowing down. And I know it actually gives me an opportunity, and people should be thinking about, we've been through these cycles before, that that's a good time to look at your business. And it's a good time to expect that things are going to slow down, and that maybe the things that your expectations of the past aren't working the way that they would. Just recognize that, and that'll make your day much easier. But there is a lot of frustration.
It's not only you. So, what's interesting, I was having a conversation today with one of my agents, and I said, listen, there were 3 lead sources that were our top lead source last year. Zillow, realtor.com. I'm speaking a dirty language over here with some of this, but Zillow, realtor.com, and Facebook, right? Those are our top 3. Zillow, Zillow Flex came out in our market. They've been allocating far fewer of the leads to the non-Flex people, and the cost got so insane, the ROI wasn't there anymore, right? Realtor.com. We went back, we renegotiated a contract with them, and the contract we negotiated with them, they were guaranteeing a certain amount of leads. They haven't been able to deliver. They literally can't deliver that many leads. So now they're opening up rentals and like leads on a car parking space to us. We're like, we don't want these leads. These leads are terrible, right? And then Facebook, that was one of our top lead sources. And they shifted the algorithm and what we were allowed to do for targeting. And so we started getting a lot of leads that were not the caliber of leads that we wanted. So we had to pivot a lot of things at once. And then you have the market slow down on top of that. And so when you're looking at it, this is, I think, the underlying issue. When you're looking at it and you're saying, my broker's not doing enough for me, or the ISAs aren't doing enough for me, or the problem is because we have a slowdown in the market at a time when it's traditionally slow, and then you have a change overall in what's happening with leads, you have to take a breath and say, this is not something that I'm going to solve in the next hour. I have to figure out what are the next steps that I take in my business to have a massive shift, because if your energy is right, if your focus is there, you're going to get through this and you're going to be stronger. But if you keep doing what you've been doing, I mean, if I kept spending what I was spending on Zillow last year, or just kept plugging along with realtor.com or Facebook for that matter, and didn't know how to pivot quickly and set different expectations for myself, like my ISAs are used to booking 80 to 100 appointments a week. They book 55 appointments and they're having a heart attack. And I'm going, guys, 55 appointments in this market in August. You guys should be very proud of yourselves. You're working very hard. So it's sometimes accepting when a change is happening that if you're doing all the right activities and you're working hard and you're analyzing the right factors, instead of beating yourself up, you need to be patting yourself on the back and propelling yourself forward.
Well, and I also think that this is a great time to reevaluate what you're doing in the real estate business. And so I've always been of the opinion that I'm in the real estate business because I love real estate, because I saw my parents buy houses and make money. And I got into it because I love that idea. And I wanted to be close to where I could buy real estate. And sales was not why I got into selling real estate to other people, was not why I got into real estate. I got out of the Navy as a naval officer. I got into it because I wanted to buy and I wanted to figure out ways to do it. And selling allowed me to eat while I was figuring out how to get involved and own real estate. So I think that this is a time to reflect. If you've got the time, look at this other aspect of real estate, which is acquiring what you can. Oh, I don't have the money to do that. Well, there's this whole concept, or we used to call it syndication, but I would put together investment groups. And every time I put together a group of people, and I did this through the 80s, right? In the early 79, 80, when we were going through this type of thing, high inflation, recession, but people had money, they wanted to buy real estate. And so if you could get people, and I did it, I started with family and friends, looked at the securities aspects. You have to be careful doing this, but every time I could get a group of people together and we would go out and buy a piece of property, that was a customer and a client for me. Because not only did I get a commission going in, I got property management fee as I managed that property, as my company did. And then when we sold it, we got a listing. And so there are people now that think there's great opportunities in real estate, right? We think there are. So if there are great opportunities, we know there are. Aren't there people that have money on the sidelines that would love to be able to jump in? And so look at ways right now to maybe create clients, people who want to take advantage. They don't have enough to buy the whole piece, but they could buy pieces. You might have some cash to contribute. You might have the expertise to contribute, but this is the kind of market to start to look at doing that. And you just open up and look at beyond selling. There's life beyond selling, right?
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up, Saul. And I know some of the people on this call are very interested in the idea of development and flipping, and some people are interested in long-term holds. And I'll tell you, sometimes we're limited by our own comfort zone. And personal story, I have 200 condos under construction that I manage the construction team in DC right now. And I'm starting to look at what's happening in the market. And I feel very confident that the DC market is insulated. But one of my concerns is, well, what is my sales pace going to look like? If I have a building where there's 36 units in one location, how long is it going to take me to sell? So I had a session. I'm a total, I was going to say nerd, but that's not even the right word. I believe that energy is very, very important. So I had an energy session with an entrepreneurial coach the other day. And one of the things she unlocked was like, hey, Keri, why aren't you looking at your portfolio to sell to multifamily investors who want to hold? So I did an analysis in the last few days, and I actually believe the assets are worth more if I sell them as a multifamily asset in bulk and
Uh-huh.
portfolio them. And now I have some learning to do because I'm out here out of my comfort zone going, oh, but I don't know that much about commercial financing. And well, how would this look? And how would I get the capital to finish the buildings if I didn't do it in my traditional model that I'm used to? And so it's a pretty exciting time. And if I didn't have that mindset shift that was possible to structure the deal differently, I'd be feeling how I felt 2 weeks ago. And instead, I'm feeling so energetic and so excited. And so, whatever that means for you in your business today, guys, whether that's looking at how to acquire one listing, 5 listings, 20 listings, it's just that mindset shift and that tactical approach that you might need to learn something new or challenge yourself in a different way. And once you do that, it'll change the way you're looking at it forever. Saul, do you remember the first deal that you put friends and family together?
I do.
Tell us about that, will you?
Yeah, it was a 4-bedroom well, no, actually the first one was 2 people that I went to high school with. One person that I went to high school with, we bought a house. We assumed a VA loan. We took over a VA loan. We used my VA eligibility to substitute 8.75%, $48,000. We got a house in San Diego, 2 of us. 1 year later, it had gone up enough in value that the 2 of us sold to another high school buddy. So now 3 of us, but we all got, each one of the first 2 guys, we got $10,000 out in cash. And so we took that and the other guy added, and we went and bought another house together. And we paid $62,500, and then we rented out the first house. But while we're doing that, I thought I saw this opportunity to buy a condo. So I got my parents and my sister and my business partner's family, and we put together, like 6 of us, enough money to purchase this 4-bedroom condo in San Diego. Now, we were kind of buy and hold, always been our philosophy. But then within like 7-8 months, it had gone up so much in value that we thought we should sell that. And we did. So those were the early ones, and they were small, and they grew over time to where we actually got into these, we called them real estate limited partnerships, where we would go out and raise a certain amount of capital. And there are a couple ways to do it. There were blind pools and specified offerings. We could go out and say, here's the building, here's how much we pay for it, here's how much it costs to run it, here's the revenue it gets. If we keep it this long and it goes up this much in value, here's how much profit we could return to everybody. And we collect the money and we go out, and that's a specified offering. We make an offer on the building. The other was, hey, we don't know what we're going to buy, but we're going to buy something that performs this way. Are you with us? And right, and then that would be a blind pool, and we would raise money for that. And so those are great ways, and it might take a while to grow up to where you're doing what you're doing, more units, but that doesn't matter. You buy what you can buy, and it's a great time to buy real estate, no matter what anybody says. And
I agree.
it's a great time, and you're going to look back, and I'm a buy and hold kind of person. You're going to look back, and you're going to say, "Wow." You're not going to look back and say, "I wish I didn't buy so much real estate."
Yeah.
And how many people do you know look back and say, I wish I didn't? Everybody I know, they look back and say, wish I'd have bought more real estate. Right? They don't say, I wish I hadn't have bought more real estate. No, I wish I bought more real estate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we were starting to talk, you brought it up, the boundary conversation. I think one of the things that's so dangerous in an environment where things are changing and we're trying to calibrate our energy and our mindset to adjust to that. One of the problems is even agents that are good at setting boundaries when the market's hot, when it changes, they start to forget about setting boundaries and they run themselves ragged. So you mentioned there was a time that you set a boundary and it cost you a lot of money. So my goal in bringing this up was to talk about how important it is to set boundaries, but of course there's times they can cost you. So you want to share that story with us first?
Yeah, and it was a client who was there are some clients that I call career making clients. You know, if you stay in real estate long enough, you'll have some of these types of clients that are really, really good clients, and they provide a lot of business and they refer business to you, and it's big business. And so I've been fortunate. I've had a number of those over the years, and I had one though that was a little bit too demanding for the family. And of course, I'm gung ho. I will do anything. I will work night and day because I know that I got to put food on the table, for the most part, keep everything going. And so when times are good, times are good. That's another point. There are times when we'll go a year or two, not make any money as real estate brokers, right? That kind of sometimes that's because it's all cyclical. So we were doing deals, selling commercial properties to this client and keeping a piece of the equity.
Nice.
Right. But the deal was we had to stay forever. And this was a buy and hold client. We had to stay forever. And probably sold 15 nice size apartment complexes in San Diego. And probably the going price then was $30,000 a door. And the price today is about $500,000 a door. And so every deal we would get some commission, and we would also get a piece of equity. And but it became too much drain. And so we said, we can't do business anymore. And that was maybe, that was 25, 30, that was 30 years ago. Now, if you look at what has happened to the apartment market in San Diego over that, now you can't make that judgment then, right? You have to make the judgment based on the circumstance at the time. But just know that when you do this, there might be some future cost to doing it. Sometimes hard to calculate.
It is. Yeah, it is. That's like, that's a big one because you look at the opportunity cost of how you spent the time that you gave up and you question, what will I make it back by the time I spent doing something else, or would I have been better off, buying the apartments?
But Brent, that's a good point though, is that we were always though very negotiable and flexible in commission. So when I was doing apartment building sales and commercial kind of sales in the San Diego mid-city area, I remember I kicked myself. There's one time I could have taken 5 houses in Las Vegas as commission. I could have taken 10 houses in Austin, Texas as commission. And so I can turn around now and say, boy, wouldn't it be nice to own those particular houses? But it was cyclical. And there wasn't anything you can do with them. You'd have to try to put tenants in, and they were out of state for me. And so I preferred cash commission in the deal. And that was great because I made money, I made commission. But just think about if I'd have had the opportunity or had the wherewithal to say, I'll forego the cash and I'll take the equity, which I did with one client, but the other clients I couldn't afford to do that back then. We were trying to make things go. And so there's sacrifices, right?
There are sacrifices. And I don't know if you know this, Saul, I have 4 children that are 6 and under.
Wow.
And I run 3 businesses, right? So the reason I wanted to bring up the boundary conversation is I feel like in order to live a balanced and happy life, we as entrepreneurs that are running our own business and are dealing with clients that can be very demanding, right? We need to really get good at setting boundaries and knowing when to say no. So there was a very specific conversation that my team brought to me recently, and it was a $1.9 million listing, and the guy wanted to buy. And so my agent said, I think that he had a fear that I would judge him if he said no to the listing, which is exactly what I would have said, right? So I said, whoa, wait a minute. Let's take a step back here.
Overpriced or the person?
So here's what happened. It was someone who owned a title company. And he said, oh, I want you to sell it as a pocket listing. I want you to sell it at, 1.9. The agent didn't feel it was worth 1.9. Okay. And the guy said, listen, you give me title business over the next 3 months. And then if you haven't sold it by then, I'll let you keep the listing.
Huh.
And by the way, I'm not going to sign an agreement to work with you on the buy side because I'm going to work with anyone who brings me a deal. Right. And so my reaction to this was a triple no. No, no, no. No, I'm not going to take the listing if it's overpriced. No, I'm not going to give you the title business unless we understand each other. And ultimately, what I coach the agent to say is, Keri's the one who determines our trusted partners. So if we work well together, you can earn a conversation with her, which is about a much bigger partnership. So that's what I coached him on that part. But what I felt very clear on, and no, by the way, I don't work with clients who don't sign an exclusive right to work with me. And so I helped draft an email back that was addressing, well, how do you say no and still welcome the opportunity to work with the client? So this is a mistake that I see a lot of agents make, because when they see someone who's trying to take advantage or feels a little shady or they're not sure, we are responsible for coaching someone about how they're going to deal with us. And I've had this experience time after time. So how many of you guys have heard, hey, I'm not going to sign a buyer agreement with you because I also know other real estate agents? That is the most hilarious thing to me, because all the real estate agents, you're still reaching out to me to work with me and have me source deals for you, which tells me the other ways you're going about accomplishing your goal aren't working. So when a client says that to me, I say, well, I completely understand if you want to keep trying to source a property the way that you're doing it. But my guess is that it's not going to work, because if other agents have exclusive clients, they're going to give the best opportunities to their clients first, and you're only getting the leftovers, which means in 6 months to a year, you're going to get tired of what you're doing now, of hoping somebody sends you a property, and you're going to end up hiring an agent to really focus on procuring the property for you anyway. So if you'd like to shortcut that misery and get support from somebody who's going to invest time and money on your behalf now to procure the property, I'm your girl. But if you want to do it the other way, I don't dabble, because I won't create results for you. I'll let you down and then we'll part ways and we won't be friends. If I'm honest with you up front and say, listen, I am not going to stumble across the perfect home in your ideal neighborhood with your exact criteria by walking down the street, I'm going to have to go out and work for it, right? So when you create that boundary, the client wants to work with you more, guys. They do.
Well, you created that's more than a boundary there. You created a value. And this is really an important value. And that is, so we're talking about an exclusive contract on the buyer side, which most people do not get. Most people in real estate will not do. And they give you all kinds of excuses why they don't. But the bottom line is they can't create a value. And you just created a value. You use the fact that there's a fiduciary duty and a fiduciary relationship, and in a tight market, you're going to do the very best for the people you have a fiduciary duty to. And if you're on the listing side, you do the best for the seller. And on the buyer side, if you sign this exclusive with me, then I'm going to find stuff I work, right? That's a great point for those people who are shy and timid about getting an exclusive buyer arrangement. That's a great point.
Well, and if you're willing to work with anyone, the truth of the matter is you're not going to go door knock. You're not going to do all of the things that would actually create a result, send out letters, contact other agents. Like, you are going to be a dabbler because you're not as committed, because you don't know for sure that you have the business.
Well, so we were talking about menu of services as well.
Yes.
Right. And so that's part of what you do. I want to create, and we won't go through it because it's a great exercise though.
We should do that another day though, because I really believe
I agree. Some other time, but you just that's a great point. Here's the value I bring if I represent you exclusively on the buyer side. I do all these, right? And then those are the types of things that would be on that card, on that dance card, right? On that menu of services.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, so interestingly enough, guess what? When I helped craft that email of the triple no and let me invite you. So the thing I was going to say where agents make a mistake is when they feel like somebody is not, they're not sure, they get an attitude, right? There's a difference between having an attitude and setting a boundary, and setting a boundary with an invitation for the future. Because for me, if the person doesn't sign the agreement, that doesn't mean I want to wash my hands of them forever. It means they might need a little more experience doing it the way they're doing it before they earn the opportunity to work with me. So when you have that confidence and you have that ability to say no, and if it doesn't work out for you this way, here's how I'll do it. And then we can work together and I will accomplish the result. I will make sure that I get you the property. I will do the work that's required to set you up for success, and you'll love me, right? I tell clients all the time, I'm going to follow through and I'm going to do it. But because I don't spread myself thin by working with people who aren't committed to me,
Yeah.
you know, the relationship is going to go very differently. So this guy ended up writing back, and you know what he said? Well, he agreed that he would take a lot less on the listing. And he said, I actually think I want to rent anyway. So imagine
Yeah.
if the agent went out and spent their nights and weekends hammering on doors and tracking down agents to try and find a listing. What a wonderful thing to be able to circumvent all of that time and focus our energy on the people who are serious, right?
Yeah. And the people who aren't, another great point is you don't cut them off. It's not about that. And so the approach is you'll still do you'll be as friendly as you can. You'll still do whatever you can you'll educate them if you can. You know, after I got out of real estate and moved into technology and other assets or different features of the real estate industry, people would come after me all the time for different things. And so I had to create, this is how I work. And so, right, if you want to talk to me, I'll be your friend and I'll talk to you and I'll help you and I'll do that. And that's great. And I have a lot of friends. Now there's the next way you want it on a more serious level, then we'll talk about your company. We'll talk about the valuation, and you can offer me an equity piece in your company. The third way is cash. And the fourth way is cash and equity. And so, but you don't need to do that, because we'll still be your friend. And, you know, if you have a question and we can honestly answer it, we'll still do that. But to get more serious, there are some steps right? Those are boundaries. And, and it's the same thing, right? It's saying to people, and if you say it nicely, they're not going to be offset, right? And you're going to be able to focus on what you need to focus on.
Yeah. You know, what's interesting, and I know we're out of time, so this will be the last thing that I say. Really early in my career, I learned one of the best ways to close a deal is simply to stand up. I sold new construction. When they were negotiating too hard, I just stood up and I said, thank you so much for coming in. And I held out my hand. They would look stunned. They would say, what? And I said, oh, you know what? I'm not going to be able to meet your expectations on the price, but I so appreciate you coming in. The first time I ever did that, I was in training, and my boss about had a heart attack. And he goes, what did you do? Why'd you do that? I said, they're going to be back in here in 5 minutes and they're going to pay my price. And they came back in, and it was the first home we sold in that community in 3.5 months. Wow. He was super ticked at me until he got the paycheck, because I didn't make any money on that deal and he got paid. But it's the value of the takeaway close.
Takeaway close, for sure. Yeah. Now you're in a whole nother area, and that is understanding closing.
Yeah.
And understanding how that works, right?
Well, and whether you're doing it on a property or your time, guys, you're worth it. You're worth it. Well, all right. I know we're out of time here, Saul. This was super fun. We got to chat a little more than when it's all of us. I enjoyed it.
And likewise,
I hope you guys got something out of that. Set boundaries. Conquer.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.